Sellers, a swaggering, up-and-coming rapper trying to make it big.
Terry Sellers is that guy you can find in just about every nightclub in America. The guy who he gets a little bit of drugs, a little bit of music. He's going to be the next big thing, kind of all the gangster posturing and all of that.
Many women find his star quality irresistible. One of them is 21-year-old Tiana Matheny. A nursing student by day, Tiana never gives up a chance to party at night. But this is one ring she'll wish she passed on. Because tonight, she meets a man who makes her forget right from wrong.
Tiana meets Terry Sellers, who's sort of a prototypical bad boy. Into some shady stuff, and definitely, though, very seductive to her.
What's up, lady?
Hey, how's it going?
You guys come dance with me.
Tiana was attracted to Terry Sellers because he was a good-looking guy, tough-looking guy. I think she was just physically attracted to him.
Terry is a very smooth-talking individual. He portrays himself as someone who's very confident.
Terry's king of the club scene, and Tiana loves the limelight.
Hey, I thought you left.
No, I've been looking for you.
There's just one hitch. Tiana's got a boyfriend.
So,
Matheny was an attractive young female that I guess was looking for thrills in her life. Found them through their association with Terry Sellers.
Their hookups are wild and hot. It doesn't take long for Tiana's boyfriend to become a distant memory. Problem is, Terry Sellers is exactly the kind of guy Tiana needs to stay away from, especially since she's trying to put her life back together. Not too long ago, she fell in with a bad crowd
Liquor, huh?
and suffered near fatal alcohol poisoning.
T? Wake up! Wake up!
She began to drink, and that led to her ending up in the emergency ward in the hospital with alcohol poisoning. From there, they put her in detox.
Now, many times when we see kids sort of falling into risky behaviors like drinking or drug use or sex at a young age, it's often an indication that they've fallen in with the wrong peers. And they want to hold on to those peers, so they're not very good at saying no.
When she left the hospital, she changed her lifestyle.
She was going to college, nursing college, to become a nurse. And she was working for a private care facility helping elderly folks out on the weekend.
Back on track, Tiana's blazing a bright future for herself.
Tiana manages while she's in college to really bring her life together, to get a degree, to save up the money, to buy a car, to work. It really seems like this young woman has come into her own.
Tiana did have a great future ahead of her. She was highly intelligent, always had good grades. She got into nurses college. She was determined to do her best, and so I had pretty high hopes for her.
Her troubled past behind her, Tiana devotes her future to help those in need. But her thirst for romance and adventure threatens her big plans. Terry's charisma and bad boy image remind Tiana how much fun misbehaving can be. She's fallen for him, and the nurse-to-be slips into his seductive world of sex and drugs.
sorry, baby, I couldn't find anything.
Tiana's mother had told me about her beginning to go out and party. I just thought that it was her blowing off some steam because she was going to school, working. I had no idea of the people who she was partying with or what they were like.
Here's a young woman who already has a vulnerability to alcohol. She already struggled with it in her teens. And the fact is, those vulnerabilities tend to be accumulated. Now that she's back with it, it's very likely that she's going to fall prey to it.
Tiana plunges into Terry's world of easy booze and coke. She never wants to leave.
Tiana is very vulnerable to becoming dependent on Sellers. She has this man who's giving her attention, and she is attracted to him, and so that there's something reinforcing about that. If he's the one who's providing her alcohol and her cocaine, and she's developing a dependence on those substances, then she's going to be even more dependent on him.
To seal the deal, Terry shows Tiana his warm and nurturing side.
Oh, that's our favorite. Now, what do we say?
You're very welcome.
What caught her eye and what caught her heart was when Terry talked about his two daughters. Tiana loved kids.
Terry has two children, but only one lives in Tucson. When Tiana meets the young girl, she falls even harder.
Hey, hold on. Don't come in and try to steal our painting.
Could have actually been quite seductive for Tiana. It might have made him seem like someone who could take care of her, who could be a boyfriend, who could be a partner. So he'd be almost that perfect combination of good boy and bad boy.
Ambitious and passionate, Terry comes to Arizona from Omaha to attend school. Terry's in line for a basketball scholarship, but drops out when he finds his calling as a rapper. After a dizzying few weeks of sex and partying, Terry comes to Tiana with a new idea. A trip to meet his other daughter in Omaha.
It was just to be a little getaway for her, a little break from school and work, like a vacation. She would get to see a new city, and so she was looking forward to coming up here to Omaha with him.
When Terry complains he's tight on cash, Tiana reluctantly offers her own.
Tiana Matheny had just received her income tax refund, and so she had some money to spend. She gave some money to Terry to go buy some supplies for the road trip. It was $200 to $250 for cocaine.
I feel like when he met Tiana, he already had a plan for her. He saw a beautiful girl. He saw a new car. It was the total package, and he took full advantage.
I don't like this boy. Mom, cut it out.
I tried to tell her don't go. She just didn't listen. There was nothing I could do to change her mind.
Sellers is doing sort of that classic sociopath's gambit. Control, isolate, and attack. And this is the way he's going to be able to get control of this woman.
She always told me, we're doing great, we're going to get married.
We love each other.
Don't worry about me. I gave her a rosary.
Thanks, Mom. I love you too.
The 1,200-mile odyssey gives the couple plenty of time to get to know each other. Terry starts to open up, giving Tiana the emotional intimacy she craves.
He began to reveal more of himself to her and some of the things that he had done.
They aren't all good things. Terry's bearing his soul.
Before we go any further,
Terry Sellers does that ultimate intimacy trick. He tells her the deepest, darkest secrets. It's a way to sort of connect her to him.
Alone together on the desolate highway, Tiana's bad boy lover reveals his biggest secret of all.
I stab it.
He said he had killed his first person when he was 12 years old. That he had stabbed some other kid with a knife in an alley. Never got caught for it.
Does she panic? Is she seduced by it? Is she intrigued? He wants to see probably where he can take her. If she knows he's capable of that, she knows now that this could potentially happen to her or others around them, so it makes him dangerous.
It is a bombshell to reveal that you've killed someone, but I think a few things are in place now. She has feelings for him. So who knows if she's really in her right mind to step back and say, wait, I don't know if this guy is right for me.
It's okay. There's probably a reason.
Despite his horrifying admission, Tiana doesn't pull away. She starts thinking of excuses to justify Terry's violence.
It could also be that wishful thinking. She feels that this is her man. He's done something in the past. It's not going to happen again.
Tiana submits to Terry's charms, and his dark side emerges. He demands to drive the car and won't give her the keys. She surrenders control, but how far is she willing to go to please her man?
Shoot it.
On their road trip to Omaha, Tiana Matheny lets her boyfriend Terry Sellers call the shots. When he commandeers the car keys, she doesn't complain.
Tiana Matheny found Terry Sellers to be exciting. He was also, I believe, controlling. And in some kind of perverted way, Tiana Matheny found that comforting.
She may very well have confused falling in love with falling under his control.
She didn't have any way to leave other than on foot, and she wasn't going to take off without her car.
She would call every few hours. Mom, I'm okay. Don't worry about me.
Her mother does worry. Tiana's past primes her for manipulation. She endures her first assault as a child.
At the age of about 6 years old, Tiana was molested by a relative. She didn't tell anyone. She kept it bottled up for years.
Holding that in can have a big impact on her because it is a horrible trauma and she's really, forced to cope with it on her own. It can contribute to her sense of identity as someone who's flawed.
She is the girlfriend of this man who's now she's entirely sadly under his power. But I also think that she had been so objectified by a life history characterized by sexual abuse and sexual assault that this is a familiar place for her.
When Tiana is 17, an intruder breaks into her home, beats and rapes her.
That kind of experience at that age can be cataclysmic for a young woman. Again, really impact them psychologically, physically, sexually. Simply the violence, but then the violence and the sexual act together. Really powerful, awful combination for this young woman.
Tiana never heals.
Tiana, she has said that these two incidents affected her the most in her life. Together, they made her feel like a piece of trash.
Hooked on Terry's affection, she'll do anything to make sure he keeps paying attention to her. In Omaha, the couple stays at Terry's stepmother's. They go back to partying.
Tiana Matheny has enough money from her income tax refund to fund a full week or more of escapades involving alcohol and drugs and whatever else they want.
What they want is to get drunk and stoned.
As soon as they got into Omaha, they began to drink whiskey and do cocaine.
Tiana, no stranger to drugs, has never been this hardcore.
Bringing drugs into an intimate romantic relationship is often the kiss of death.
Bring your sexy ass over here, baby.
Not only is he now controlling her psychologically, he could be controlling her from an addiction standpoint.
Drugs cost money, and soon they run out of both.
It'll be so easy, baby.
Terry comes up with a plan, and he needs Tiana's help.
Promise.
Terry wants to use Tiana as bait in a honey trap to lure men and mug them.
She was going to hook up with them, and she was an attractive young female, and she was going to find young males that'd be attracted to her.
Terry convinces her it'll work because she's irresistible. No one will get hurt. Terry takes Tiana to the mall and wines and dines her, loosening her up to play his secret weapon of seduction.
Tiana must have gotten a little bit of a kick out of the experience. She got to get new clothing, her nails done, tanning session, and be attractive to another man. So I think part of it was that she probably had a little bit of a boost in confidence.
While Tiana gets her groove on, Terry does some shopping of his own. He's looking for their first victim, someone with money, who will fall hard for his gorgeous sidekick.
Terry Sellers sees someone who he believes would be a good mark. That person is Victor Ford.
Terry spotted him earlier driving a Cadillac. And Victor appears to be a man of means.
Victor, he was always dressed very nice, from head to toe, watch, jewelry, pretty much everything.
All Victor needs is a beautiful woman on his arm. Terry sends Tiana to provide that service.
Terry tells her, go get the phone number.
If Victor's seen a pretty girl catch his eye, he would definitely pursue her.
I'm Santa Claus.
Sorry, don't worry about it. It's alright.
She was good looking, nice figured girl, so she was definitely a looker.
Love your shoes.
Once Tiana Matheny has approached Victor Ford, acting very flirty with him, saying that she thought he was cute, he was very much hooked.
Get it?
Tiana and Terry aren't even out of the parking lot before Victor rings. Tiana continues to play the seductress, proposing they get together that night. Victor can't make it. Terry and Tiana need to find another mark, and fast. They're out of drugs and need a fix. Terry quickly finds his new target, a hard-working family man named Kevin Pierce. As Kevin fills up his ride, Terry pulls into the station. Tiana knows the drill. She's a damsel in distress, a kitten who's lost her way, and in need of petting.
My boyfriend can't find anything. I mean, anything.
Is that right?
Tiana Matheny is presenting herself in a way that makes them believe that she's open to the idea of sexual intercourse.
In its own strange way, there may be some real excitement for Tiana as she goes out to draw these men in. It's so different than the rather straight-laced life that she came from.
Tiana sets her tender trap and reels Kevin in. They have their mark, but they need a good wingman. Terry calls on his friend and cousin, Terrell Thorpe.
The only skill set that Terrell Thorpe had was that when Terry told him to do something, Terrell would do it.
And for good reason. Thorpe owes Terry Sellers his life, simply because Sellers didn't shoot him in the head when he had the chance. In 2003, Terrell drove the getaway car when Terry broke into a man's house and allegedly murdered him for his sports jerseys.
I kind of get the feeling that I'm the first copy shows the metro doing.
Terrell Thorpe was afraid of Terry Sellers. He was loyal to Terry Sellers. The reason he was fearful and loyal to Terry is that he was aware that Terry had done a previous murder. Terry had actually put a gun to Terrell's head and only relented in not shooting him when Terrell had advised that he would always keep that a secret.
Terrell Thorpe is that sidekick that makes Terry Sellers all the more dangerous, because it seems like he also gets a rise out of these dangerous situations, and he's willing to accompany him and help him pull off some really dangerous stuff.
It also helps that Terrell has the weapons.
Terrell Thorpe retrieved 2 firearms, a handgun and a rifle.
Terry lays out the plan. But is he a trustworthy captain?
Sellers is loading his revolver and says, "Someone's gonna die tonight."
At first blush, you would think that he was talking about the victim, but both his co-conspirators in this took it that he could be talking about either one of them.
She's thinking probably we're gonna rob this man and it could lead to murder. It might cross the back of her mind that, wait, what if that's me?
The fact that Sellers only reveals his plan bit by bit to Terrell and Tiana really speaks to how much he's going to stay in control of this. These two are simply tools as part of his plan.
Come on, it'll be fun.
It's time for action. Terry starts giving orders.
Terry Sellers instructs Tiana to sort of get dressed up, do her makeup, and use her looks to draw men in.
She makes the phone call, sealing the deal. Tiana's the perfect bait. And here comes the mark. The eager and unsuspecting Kevin Pierce. He arrives right on time. Kevin's excited to see Tiana. Unfortunately, he has no idea what horrors await, and Tiana doesn't realize how far she'll go on this first date.
No, you don't have to go to work. Come on, it'll be fun.
Terry Sellers has transformed Tiana Matheny into the perfect honey trap. Their target, Kevin Pierce, has no idea what's coming.
Once Kevin arrived and drove into the parking lot, Tiana Matheny exited her vehicle and approached Kevin. Once she made contact with Kevin, that's when Terry Sellers and Terrell Thorpe sprung out of their hiding place and approached him with their weapons drawn.
Fear and excitement are actually closer emotions than we think. And I think in the case of Tiana, she's probably feeling both of those things this night.
They're in the unlit, grassy area by the apartment complex. Terry is standing over Kevin Pierce. Kevin Pierce is lying face down.
Please, man, stop. Kill me. Please, hurry up.
He is begging for his life, truly frightened,
Please, I can't leave you, please.
because he's afraid of what is going to happen.
Come on, man, find it. Let's go.
Terry strips Kevin of his money and jewelry.
Come on, that's all I got.
Only then does he reveal the final part of his plan.
Kevin Pierce is lying on the ground pleading for his life.
Shut up, man. Please.
Sellers puts the gun in Tiana's hand and leads her hand over to the back of his head and instructs her to pull the trigger.
Terry's yelling at her to shoot the guy.
Shoot him.
And if you don't, I'll kill you.
It seems like an initiation. He was locking her in.
Terry Sellers not only moving her hand to the position where he wanted her to shoot him, but instructing her to do so, he sort of owned her. That's what he wanted. He wanted 100% control.
Do it.
Tiana Matheny was under the influence of drugs and alcohol, and at that point, I don't think she even realized the significance of what she had just done.
Let's go.
It's impossible to know whether she really jumped the rails and really became identified as a killer, or whether at this point she was so deeply under the control of another that she sort of ceased to become herself, that she took on an entirely new identity. Yet, in that action, she also changed the course of her life forever.
Terry, Tiana, and Terrell leave Kevin Pierce's body in the dirt. Time to collect what they came for. His car.
They drive Kevin Pierce's vehicle to another location so they could strip it of its 4 tires.
The murderers meticulously cover their tracks.
One thing that is very noticeable is that Terry Sellers, as well as the other two, are very aware of fingerprints and DNA. And you'll see that during this murder of Kevin Pierce, they were wearing gloves. They try to wipe down all surfaces they come in contact with so as to leave without a trace.
Satisfied with their work, they disappear into the night. The next morning, Kevin Pierce's remains are found. Omaha Police Detective Steve Henthorne arrives on the scene.
We had no witnesses that indicated that they'd seen a car go by and heard gunshots or anything else like that. In fact, we had no witnesses to the shooting at all. We did not know if it was just a robbery related or if it was a personal grudge that had turned into an execution. The victim's car had the 4 tires removed, along with the rims from that vehicle. There were no prints that we could identify. The investigation was wide open at that initial point.
Holed up at his stepmother's house, Terry and Tiana sleep all morning and into the afternoon. When she wakes, Tiana recalls the horror of the night before and does all she can to forget it.
This is the first time that she's ever killed someone, and in order not to fall apart over that, she's probably using and self-medicating.
Tiana was trying to deaden her emotions with her continued use of drugs and alcohol.
Because they were using both cocaine and alcohol, these drugs have very different effects on people. Alcohol is a great number. Cocaine, however, activates you. And that combination of those 2 drugs really sometimes gave them the energy they needed to commit a crime, but also helped them maybe push out the images when they didn't want to deal with it.
For Terry, the drugs add to the rush he feels from the murder.
Terry Sellers is cold as ice. He commits these crimes without having any type of remorse. They do not faze him in any way, and he's able to commit a murder in cold blood of someone who's begging and pleading for their life, and then go out the very next night and try to do the exact same thing.
Amped from last night's success, Terry's ready for more. He orders Tiana to call their original target, Victor Ford.
Terry Sellers is going to be in Omaha for a limited window, and while he's here, he feels he can commit those crimes, get whatever cash he can, and then leave Omaha without a trace.
Keep in mind, Tiana has been in spaces of terror before, when she was raped. So she knows what that feels like. And so this is even more awful for her because it reminds her likely of something else. So now she's in pretty deep, doesn't know how to get out.
All right, Victor. I'll see you tonight.
Tiana extends a steamy invitation to Victor for later that night. They arrange to meet at another Omaha apartment complex. But after she hangs up, Tiana feels the pang of conscience. She looks to escape.
Llorando, Tiana called me. She was crying hysterically. She kept saying, "Mom, please just pick me up. I want to leave Nebraska. I want to go home."
In the middle of Tiana's desperate call to her mom, Terry walks in.
You ready me up?
He thinks she's called the police.
Terry pointed a gun at her.
Begging for her life, Tiana swears she's not a snitch. Terry puts his .38 caliber revolver to Tiana's head.
He was threatening to kill her, and the cylinder fell open. That put enough of a break into the situation at that moment for her to calm him down.
It was just some chance occurrences, like a gun malfunction that's keeping her from being harmed. So at this point, she's pretty much 100% under his control, likely trying to find the way out, and realizing there may not be one.
They've still got a few hours to kill before Tiana's date with Victor. So Terry takes her to a nearby club. It just happens to be the same spot where Victor is hanging out. He wants to start the action early, and Tiana's forced to think fast. She can't ditch her friends now. She promises to make it up to him later. Victor agrees, and all seems well. But the pressure is too much for Tiana. She's overserved and getting nasty. Hours later, the 3 conspirators drive to the apartment complex.
Victor Ford arrives and approaches Tiana Matheny in a courtyard.
How you doing?
Terry Sellers then approaches with his handgun drawn.
This time, Terry plays triggerman, while Terrell drives getaway. Just like Kevin Pierce, Victor Ford never realizes Tiana set him up.
Terry Sellers directs Victor Ford to lie face down on the ground. Tiana Matheny then turns away.
Tiana doesn't want to look. She doesn't want to believe that this is happening to her. Again,
Victor Ford is shot in the head by Terry Sellers.
He dies, pleading for her to save him.
They could have just took everything and left him, lead him be, just let him go. But They chose to kill him that night. I lost my brother, my best friend.
The next morning, police find Victor Ford's body. His death is the second execution-style murder in as many days. Both killings are in the same part of town, and still no witnesses.
We weren't hearing any feedback from the streets as far as any indication of who this could have been. We had really nothing to go on.
As the police chase one dead end after another, Terry, Tiana, and Terrell sleep it off.
After the murder of Victor Ford, they went down and crashed, woke again in the afternoon, and began looking for another party to prey upon.
It's difficult to turn back at this point. They're all signed on fully, and they keep getting away with the crime.
Terry Sellers is making a killing in Omaha, but he's not scoring the cash he'd expected.
Terry Sellers got very little property from Victor Ford. Although Victor Ford appeared to look like he had a lot of money, he really didn't have a lot of money. They recovered some jewelry and perhaps just a few dollars.
Not nearly enough to support a gnawing drug habit. They need more cash, and they need it quick. With the murders in the news, their window of opportunity is closing fast. Terry plans another big score.
Trust you, man. Of course, man.
After he pulls off this last robbery and execution, he'll tie up all the loose ends and simply disappear.
Can't trust that hoe.
Nope. He already knows Terrell Thorpe can keep his mouth shut. Tiana Matheny's a wild card, and once he eliminates her, then there are no other witnesses.
Terry's saving his last bullet for Tiana. Terry Sellers is torn.
I can't trust that hoe.
His new girlfriend, Tiana Matheny, has become the perfect partner in crime. But if she rats him out, he'll spend the rest of his life in jail.
Terry Sellers was going to murder Tiana Matheny so that she would never be around to testify against him.
Sellers talks a tough game about potentially harming or killing Tiana. Tiana, however, is proving to be a little bit more profitable. A bit of a golden goose.
Before he settles with Tiana, they need to pull off one more score. And this time, they need to choose the right mark.
Terry Sellers was fully expecting to recover more money, more jewels, more property from these robberies. But unfortunately, he's preying on folks who may appear to have some wealth but really do not.
Terry is certain his next target has money. Anthony Jones is a local rapper and drug dealer.
Terry Sellers saw him as a prime target, someone who might have large amounts of money as well as drugs. This would be a bigger score.
They are feeling invincible. They haven't got caught. They're on a roll. Why not keep going? Why not try something bigger, a bigger challenge?
Usually a drug dealer is not going to be one that's going to be fooled, but there's a long history of males being fooled when females are involved, and maybe their guard getting let down. And that's exactly what they were counting on.
She did the exact same thing she did with Kevin Pierce and Victor Ford. She approached them, flattered them regarding their vehicles, and said they were attractive, exchanged phone numbers with them, and then left, implying that they were to hook up.
Once Tiana sets the date, Terry loads his revolver. This time, he's not bringing Terrell along. He doesn't want to split the payday.
And it almost feels like at this point Sellers is showing some hubris, that he could take on a victim that's actually a worthy candidate, so to speak. But the problem is this time he may very well have bitten off more than he could chew.
Like an awful deja vu, Tiana meets Anthony at another darkened apartment complex. Terry springs from his hiding place, gun drawn. Unlike the others, Anthony Jones isn't going down without a fight.
During the struggle, the gun held by Terry Sellers falls to the ground and becomes disabled. You can't fire it.
It's as dramatic as a fight can be when you think you're going to be killed and the other person's intent is to kill you. It was a pretty frantic brawl.
At one point, he appeared to be getting the better of Terry Sellers.
Instead of Tiana using this as an opportunity to get out of there, she actually got in there and started scratching his eyes and in essence defending Sellers. This really speaks to how deeply she'd gotten into this sort of strange union with Sellers.
With Tiana's help, Terry regains the upper hand. The gun's history, so Terry pulls a pocket knife.
Tiana Matheny actually helped to hold down the arms as Terry Sellers is stabbing him.
After being stabbed multiple times, Anthony's body goes limp.
He fought as hard as he could for as long as he could.
At that point, there are people yelling from the apartments that police have been called. There's sirens in the background.
The murder didn't go as quickly or quietly as they'd hoped. They need to get out of there. Pronto.
Terry Sellers and Tiana Matheny jump into Tiana's vehicle and immediately start to drive away from the scene. Police have already been alerted to this, and they are arriving at the same time that Terry Sellers is driving away. When the police arrive, they find what looks like a dead body lying on the grass.
They start to approach the body, and all of a sudden, the person gets up. And they don't know what they're having. They don't know at that point if it's a suspect or if it's a victim.
He raised his head up and started shouting repeatedly, "They tried to kill me. They tried to kill me."
While suffering a barrage of stab wounds, Anthony makes the smart choice to play dead. He describes Terry and Tiana to the police. And soon, they're in pursuit of Tiana's car. As the cops close in, Terry and Tiana's only choice is surrender or face a violent last stand. Tiana Matheny and Terry Sellers flee the scene of their botched murder attempt of Anthony Jones. The police are right behind them.
When the police initially saw this vehicle, they attempted to pull it over immediately.
Expecting the perps to fight or flee, the cops take no chances. When they see Terry Sellers, they think they need an ambulance.
Terry Sellers is literally caught red-handed. He's covered in blood. He still has the pocket knife he used, as well as $200 in cash, which very well may have been the proceeds of the previous two robberies.
Back at the crime scene, police find the most damning evidence of all.
Once they recovered the handgun at the scene of the attempted murder, they were able to link that weapon to the murders of Kevin Pierce and Victor Ford.
Digging further into phone records and other clues, police flush out Terrell Thorpe.
Terrell Thorpe was not arrested the same night as Tiana Matheny and Terry Sellers. His name came up pretty quickly in the investigation, and he was taken into custody.
The trial is set. It seems like an open and shut case. Until star witness Anthony Jones refuses to testify.
He was the person, obviously, who Terry Sellers had tried to murder. However, because he had a burgeoning rap career, was concerned about being considered a snitch.
Without Anthony, the chances of a conviction fall on the shoulders of Tiana Matheny. Not exactly a reliable witness.
When Tiana Matheny was first arrested, she's still under the influence of drugs, alcohol, and Terry Sellers. The longer she's in jail, the further removed she is from those influences, the more we see the true Tiana Matheny coming out.
Tiana comes clean and agrees to dish the dirt on her lover. When Terry learns that Tiana turned on him, he sends Terrell to keep her from testifying.
She was threatened that if she testified, there would be people sent after her mother or I, and we would be killed.
You better think long and hard about what you're gonna do, Tiana.
This time, Tiana stands strong.
Piss off.
Sellers is still trying to maintain the dynamic of that relationship that was one that was very fear-based. Tiana may still be very vulnerable to it. For obvious reasons, these are very real threats. However, her relief at being free from it actually imbue her with a fair amount of courage.
Tiana takes the stand. The prosecutor shows her crime scene photos of the victims. Without drugs and alcohol to numb her, she finally feels the devastating horror of what she's done.
When she got to the point in her testimony about describing how she herself had pulled the trigger that killed Kevin Pierce, she became so overcome with emotion that she literally threw up into a trash can that was sitting next to her, causing us to have to pause court.
I didn't believe her for 1 second. I honestly think she knew what she was doing the whole time. And the time that she spent in jail, she finally realized that she made a mistake and was trying to justify herself.
In the end, the jury believes her. They convict Terry and Terrell, sentencing them to life in prison. For her role, Tiana gets 35 to 70 years. They're locked away in the Nebraska Department of Corrections.
Justice was served in each of these cases.
There's no way Dad can get her out of this one. There's no way Dad can help her undo what's been done. And, yeah, it eats me up inside.
Ultimately,